Michel Meltet, crawl face. Merci. Thanks, guys. Hi everyone, thanks so much for taking the time to subscribe to the channel. And yeah, a big controversial subject. We're going to talk about chemtrails. I'm really happy actually to be able to do this video. I'm only going to do one like this to explain exactly what's going on. But there's so many myths and theories that evolve around exactly what chemtrails are. But today we're going to talk about cloud seeding, and that's what the chemtrails are supposedly used for. We're going to talk about the facts, the information that's out there that they talk about. Cloud seeding is a type of weather modification. So yes, there are myths that come that they're creating storms. Well, they really are, because that's exactly what they're going to try to do. And they also try to stop storms, and I'll explain. So weather modification, it will aim to change the amount of type of precipitation that falls from clouds by dispersing substances into the air that serve as cloud condensation or ice nuclei, which alter, here's a very interesting fact, it alters the microphysical processes within the cloud. So this is what they're trying to do. They are trying to manipulate the weather. They are doing weird lines and formations in the sky. So the ones that have channels that are making channels saying that chemtrails don't exist have done no research whatsoever. Like astrophotography, Ace of Space. Go look at his last video. He's talking about books and clouds. In reality, these chemtrails are being hidden, and they're not talked about, right? Because they're doing experimentation in reality, weather modification. It was used during the war too. We heard about that before. The usual intent is to increase the precipitation, the rain or the snow, but hail and fog suppression. Okay, this is how it started in 1946 in New York. Also widely practiced in airports where harsh weather conditions are experienced. So at least we know why we see them in certain areas. Now, when it comes to are they doing any experimentation, well, of course they could be doing something, and yes, they could be doing something good or bad that we don't know about. But the facts are the facts. Cloud seeding, that's what chemtrails are being used for, and that's what we're going to be talking about. The most common chemicals, and again, this is not talking about secret projects or any manipulation that they could be doing in a bad way, but what they're telling the public is that these chemicals are used for cloud seeding, and that they include, here they go, silver iodide, which is a very light yellow powdery color. Look for it on the ground if ever we find any in the summer. I think some of you know what I mean. Potassium iodide and dry ice. We'll talk about the dangers of some of these later on. And of course, there's dangers to dry ice, but depending on how it is stored. So I'll get into that. Solid carbon dioxide. That's another thing they spray. Liquid propane. Interesting. Yeah, okay. Which expands into a gas, has also been used, right, for cloud seeding. This can produce ice crystals at higher temperatures than silver iodide. Yep. After promising research, the use of hygroscopic materials, those are other things nobody, astrophotography, Ace of Space, is not mentioning, such as table salt is also sprayed. Do you guys know that? Probably not many people do. It's becoming more and more popular. So you just saw smoke on the moon. Could they be cloud seeding the moon? Wow, changing the atmosphere? See the ice crystals in the sky that are physically small, very small, just these small particles of ice, and they're in gas forms. Well, it can't fall to the ground, so what they do is with the aerosols, that's why we hear the aerosols, they're using things that are heavier and that expand and grow in the cloud to become heavier so that precipitation will fall to the ground. And this started in 1946 in New York, all because of drought, to try to help more precipitation, and now more countries are doing so. So just a quick idea, dry ice is minus 109.3 degrees Fahrenheit, minus 78.5 degrees Celsius. Dry ice, is it dangerous? Well, it's dangerous only if it's stored in an area, they say, without proper ventilation because it causes CO2. So if you're driving in a truck and you have CO2 and its sublimation starts on the dry ice and it starts changing into gas form from solid to gas, that's going to take all the oxygen out of the truck. It's going to, you'll be breathing in CO2. You get confusion, disorientation, death, fall unconsciousness. This is what could occur. But is it dangerous in the sky? I don't know. But I'm still explaining more thoroughly about chemtrails and about everything, the cloud seeding, these chemicals they're putting in the sky. So do you understand where some of the theories come from, where some people are saying that they're doing this, they're doing that, they're going to kill us, there's chemicals, we're having hard times breathing. So there's some positive reason to research that. Hi everyone, thanks for stopping by to check out the video about the chemtrails, cloud seeding. It's interesting to find out. I learned a whole bunch of new things today by really researching it. And some people that are just making videos saying chemtrails don't exist or contrails, that's stupid. Everyone knows that cloud seeding is real. It's weather modification. Look it up. Look up weather modification, the keywords. Look up cloud seeding. It's all real. Silver iodide, the potassium iodide, magnesiums, there's gases, propanes. This is all sprayed in the sky so that the clouds will expand, and that depending on the temperatures, of course, it's colder the higher you go up, and that's what's transforming these weightless crystals, these microscopic crystals, ice crystals, that are not heavy enough to fall to the ground, with the aerosols and everything integrated that they're spraying up in the sky. They can literally make it rain or stop it from raining, right? So now, shouldn't they be spraying in Africa or areas where there's complete drought? Because the reason why this all started in 1946 in the city of New York, USA, was to test on making more precipitation fall, more rain fall around the world. And other countries continued. Australia, Brazil, there's Canada, a whole bunch of countries now that are doing it. Probably most of the countries are doing it, spraying. So that's one truth. The theories that are out there, people are saying that, aluminum oxide, listen, they're not talking about the aluminum oxide on the information that I got, but I'm hearing channels saying that they're, spraying aluminum oxide. I'm looking more and more in researching this, and it's not easy, obviously. I'm no genius, but I'm telling you what, there's more information in this video than I've ever seen in some of the silly channels just talking about chemtrails, just saying that they're contrails. Because contrails and chemtrails, of course, is similar. It's the same thing. A contrail is a contrail that has no chemicals in it. A chemtrail, is a contrail with chems in it. Chemtrails. It's not hard to understand. The airplanes are at the airports. They're not hidden. They have long, looks like muffler rods on the side of the planes, and that's what's used for the product to go inside. Whether they be spraying dry ice, it's used in agriculture. Listen, the military is doing this too. So then when we start talking about secret projects or experimentation on weather modification, there's probably some truth in a lot of what some of the theories that we hear out there. They're very interesting in chemtrails. But the truth is, the dry ice in the sky, when they're spraying this, and the propanes and all that, of course, it's falling. Once it goes into the cloud, once those clouds get heavy, well, it falls as precipitation. So, there's a whole bunch of studies we'd have to look into. Acid rain, that's another thing. I mean, it's endless, but are chemtrails real? Anybody that tells you chemtrails are not real are lying, because they absolutely are. And the process and the reason supposedly is for cloud seeding. But again, we have it in agriculture, which they're spraying the trees with insecticides. That is a chemtrail that they spray. It's the same thing. It's a smoke trail with chemicals in it that falls to the ground. This is all controlling the desertification of the insects and everything. They're controlling the entire world. They're playing God. So there's truth to chemtrails. Chemtrails are absolutely real. Anybody that says that they're not is definitely a liar. They didn't do any research at all. A contrail out of a plane, first of all, is a chemtrail because it's propane. It's not propane, it's jet fuel, right? So the jet fuel that's coming out of the plane is making a nice, healthy cloud of come on. There's nothing healthy in a cloud. There's chemicals in it. But it just so happens that that's You know, they're basically the planes when they're going by are cloud seeding. But now here's the difference. A plane with passengers in it, and maybe the passenger planes are also cloud seeding. I haven't, no proof or confirmation of that. I can't see why they couldn't, right? It would be dangerous because those products would be with the people. So obviously they're not going to spray with dry ice on board, you know, all the people sleeping in the plane on conscience, you know? I mean, there's some logic to that. These planes are outside of the airports. There's little Cessna planes at small airports. There's larger aircrafts that whether it be military planes or weather planes that study the weather. There's a lot of them that go by. I see some going by that are supposedly weather planes. That could be too. Chemtrails absolutely exist. And yeah, could it be falling from the sky on us? And, you know, it's weird. Last summer, I got a snowball in the face. Believe it or not, it came out of the sky. So here's the thing. Another thing the astrophotography of space would have no clue or have even mentioned, because it's important. When hail is falling from the sky, sometimes if chemtrails, supposedly, these are the facts that are online. If somebody without any intelligence like me looks it up, this is what you're going to get back. Those big pieces of hail, by spraying chemtrails, those pieces of hail are going to become a lot smaller. So like you can see here, those are small pieces of hail. We're hearing a lot about big hailstorms that are falling, and bigger the hail's getting. Well, say to yourself, we're seeing more and more chemtrail clouds. They're cloud seeding. So when people say look up about chemtrails, they should be looking up cloud seeding, because that's chemtrails are part of cloud seeding. Vietnam War, right? The Americans, they drowned them out. Cloud seeding in Australia. The Australia bushfires. Now, Australia, the drought that's there and that's always occurring, that has been occurring for a while, they're going to have to cloud seed a lot. The more fires there are, the more they're going to have to cloud seed over Australia. That is why Australia is also part of that cloud seeding program. Stanford University, the Academy of Science. I mean, all these important science people recently are saying, speaking of cloud seeding, it's not necessarily something that they believe is effective. It hasn't statistically been proven to be effective either. And that means, like one at Stanford, one scientist says, yeah, it can snow. You can make a storm happen in a couple of towns or a couple of big metropolitans or something, but are you going to be able to make all of USA snow at the same time? They don't know about the effectiveness of that. They would probably have to chemtrail, and it would be disgusting. They would completely cover us up. So I hope this helped a lot of you understand a bit more about the chemtrails. Now, before going to the moon in the next video, one last thing. Mark my words, you'll hear in the news, wherever there's fires, even California, Australia, when there's drought, wherever there's going to be drought, they should be cloud seeding. Because if not, there's not going to be any precipitation at all. So these light gases that are stuck in the air, they're high up in the altitudes, just floating around, that are not heavy enough to come down, are going to have to be cloud seeded, so that these heavy aerosols, propanes, I know it sounds weird, but that's what they're basically doing, weather modification to make it rain. So now we all know what chemtrails really are. They exist. Screw the contrails.